So my name's Romell, spelled Rome with two L's at the end of it. Most people call me Rome. AFM number 37. And yeah, that number is definitely very precious to me. I work hard to keep it. Pretty interesting story behind it. The 37, the 3 being the Trinity of the Holy Spirit, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and then 7 being the number of perfection. And me, having been a Christian for as long as I can remember, it had an important meaning to me out on the track. Spent a lot of time in the beginning trying to glorify myself, and then I started learning that my glory wasn't the glory that was important. So I had this number 37 while I was racing in Europe, throughout Europe. And then I got here to the States, and I started racing with AFM. I think I was number 894 or something like that. As a first novice, I was on a BMW. And then went to 737 because, I had to have triple digits. I wasn't an expert yet. And then I was like, man, I'm moving up to expert. I need to have 37. Who's got 37? And I saw there was 37 Bud Anderson on there, right? And so I go up and I talk to him. I say, hey, Bud, here's the deal, man. This number is super important to me, man. I raced with it in Europe. This is what it means to me. And I know you've been doing it justice for a long time. And really, realistically, I just want to carry the mantle. It's kind of like carrying the torch, or I don't know, the Iron Man suit, whatever you want to call it. But I wanted to carry that on. I had my own purpose, obviously, behind it. Bud had his, but it was I knew Bud to be a very competitive racer, very well known, very well liked out here. And so I obviously, when I talked to him about it, I said, I really want to get this number, but I also really want to do it justice. We talked about it, and he said, hey, you got my permission to carry the torch. So, I said, man, I mean, it threw me over the moon. I'm not even gonna lie. It was like I won the race already. You know what I mean? I threw 37 on there, and been rocking it ever since. Let's see, I got started in, I say 2008, 2009. Had some fellas that I was running with out in the UK, called the Usual Suspects. You really don't need to get into the specifics of all of that, but yeah, very good friends of mine, good group of guys. And there was one guy by the name of Brandon Suber, who he was racing competitively out there in England, and I didn't know that I was completely oblivious to it, right? I was a street guy, stunts and so on and so forth, wheelies, stoppies, all that. We were all military guys, right? We were all military guys, and Brandon was still in the military, and he was like, yeah, I seen you we go out riding on the streets and stuff, and we were going out doing wheelies and stuff like that. And then he was like, man, you're getting a little bit too crazy for the streets. I think you need to move to the track, So he said, why don't you come pit for me a couple times? It was, awesome atmosphere. And, these guys were smashing against each other on the track. When they got done, at nighttime, it was all, everybody's partying, comparing lap times, talking with each other and stuff like that. And I said, man, this is an atmosphere I really want to be a part of, Then I'd been, going to MotoGP races and World Superbike races out at Donington and so on and so forth out there, Silverstone, everything. And I got tired of being a spectator, Not saying there's anything wrong with being a spectator, but there's something about me said, I can't sit here on the side anymore. I got to do this. I got to try it at least, And so Brandon started taking me, to track days. I bought a clapped out, Gixxer 600, and just started riding. Started hitting as many tracks as I could. I remember the first time I went and I scraped my knee. I was at Snetterton. I was going into turn 1. And I was going down, and all of a sudden I just hear scraping and everything, and I thought I was crashing. I'm like, oh God, I'm crashing. And I came back up, and I was like, oh, that's what it feels like to scrape a knee. And after that, I was hooked, Just started racing in Germany hard in 2011 on a BMW, and kept it moving, pretty much ever since. I came to the States in 2013. I'd actually met a guy named Joey Pascarella while I was running back and forth between the States and Europe. And I said, hey man, trying to figure out, I'm thinking Wera or AFM, what should I do? He said, hands down AFM. If you want to be fast, if you really want to be competitive, you really want to be fast, and this is not a knock on Word, but he said, you want to get fast, you hit AFM. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And I got to be honest, man, I was in Europe, and the Europeans are fast too, right? But I hadn't seen competition like I seen when I started running with AFM. AFM guys were fast, smoking fast, and I came in the time when, Ricky Corey and Lenny Hale and, Michael Ernest, were running, and, all those guys were still, pushing out the front. As luck would have it, later on down the line, I got the chance to get mentored by Dave Stanton a little bit, and that helped me out tremendously with some things here at Thunder Hill. So I took probably about a year off, right, from the last season. And I want to say it was like my second weekend back to riding here, man. I was at 2 minutes, running 2 minutes, and I was like doing everything I could, man. I felt like I was throwing the bike literally just getting off the bike and throwing it at the at the corner. Like maybe to get in there faster if I just launch it myself, you know what I mean? I was doing everything I could. I come back and, I'm like, man, that's gotta be a 50. It's gotta be a 49. And then and I look at my lap timer and it's like 2:01.73 or something like that. And I'm like, yo, I think I'm done. Maybe I should just hang the cape up, right? It's a wrap. And then, but you work on settings on the bike, you know what I mean? And you get comfortable with speed, right? The times I'm sitting here charging the corners and doing everything I can, and I'm, dragging the elbow and the bike's just, and I'm, yanking on the throttle, being stupid, really. You know what I'm saying? Not doing what I should be doing, not really paying attention to smoothing it out, having a pace, but just launching everything I can to try and get a hard time. And it's when I relax and the speed feels like second nature, you know what I mean? And every time I do that, when the bike gets set up for that, or when I get comfortable with the speed and I get to that point, the lap times come. So that's what I got to get used to, is just speed. I got to get to the point where the speed just gets comfortable. When I was in the military, I was competitive because they give us a competitive nature, right? They kind of teach that, and it helps, right? And even out here, like, I like being competitive. I like battles. If I was, if I'm up at the front, if I was up at the front, you know what I mean? And I'm running first or second, if I lost to the guy at first, as long as I was chasing him, I had a good time battling with him. If I got second place, okay, cool. At some point in time, I want to get first for sure, but I enjoy the battle and I enjoy the chase. I don't need to necessarily be the best. I just want to be the best for me, be my tip top. And if I get beat that way, then, so be it. My father used to always say, if you're gonna do anything, get beat with your best foot forward, right? You put your best foot out there, you do everything that you can, and if you got whooped, you got whooped, but you got whooped being the top that you could be. I used to be an MSF instructor, right? And one of the things that I learned, as a safety coach, and my buddy Jamie Akers, who was also doing safety coaching with me, we were doing that on the basis. We went through a lot of stuff. We went through a lot of, accident reports and stuff like that too, and had to narrow down why things happened. And a lot of it comes down to, it's not always a lack of skill, but a lot of times it's a lack of skill. But skills need to be processed in the right environment. And the track is really the only right environment to process skills for a sport bike, for something that's built to race. If you want to be fast, there's no point in doing it on the street. No point whatsoever. You don't have the proper amount of space. Here, you got 2 lanes that are going in the same direction, as opposed to 1 lane over there going in one direction, one going in the opposite direction. And, in all honesty, you got to think about it this way, right? 9 times out of 10 people think, oh, I'm not hurting anybody if I go down out there, right? If I do something or something happens. But you got to think about your family for one, right? There's people that love you. There's people that are going to miss you if something happens, or, it's not just about your injuries. You know what I mean? Or, the fact that you might pass and you don't think anybody will miss you. People will miss you, right? That's one. 2, if it so happens that, you hit a car going in the opposite direction, that car's got a family in it, you know what I mean, with kids. They're gonna be trying to process that for the rest of their lives if they weren't injured themselves. It's just not worth it to do it in the wrong environment. And I'm not trying to be, the priest up here or anything like that. I'm just telling you, there's a proper environment for it. If you want to be fast, these guys are fast, right? AFM guys are fast. Your track day riders are fast, but it's the proper environment to learn how to ride properly. And it'll make you a better street rider if you just want to be a better street rider. Definitely make you a safer one, more able to control your bike, learn how to handle it in proper emergency situations. And I think you'll find, as with most racers, that once you get actually fast, like when you get fast, not just being able to try and drag your elbow or something like that out on the street fast, but like really super fast, or fast enough to race, I should say, the street doesn't appeal to you as much anymore. You lose a little bit of interest, you know what I mean? I would go out sometimes, as soon as I go out, see 2 or 3 cops, start running into some traffic. I can't really get the drive that I want to get, you know what I mean? I can't really get a good run through these turns, through the hills and stuff like that I want to get. And what's the point? Now, I'll get frustrated, maybe try to push a little bit more because I don't, have the space that I want. And I could get hurt, somebody else could get hurt. It's not worth it. Here, the environment's right. Sure, it costs a little bit, but in all honesty, there's ways to get around that, right? There's free stuff being handed out everywhere. There's all these people. The track environment is one of the most wonderful environments I've ever been in, because all these people are more than willing to help and loan and do whatever they got to do to keep you out here, to have you having a good time and build this environment up, right? So you can't beat it. And it's half the reason that I came in the first place, man. People just coming out and helping me out. And I didn't even know half of them. Matter of fact, I didn't even know any of them. So, hey, be in the right environment to have a good time. You know what I mean? Like, there's being fast, and then there's just surviving. And on the street, you're really just surviving.